Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on this Chinese elm. I've been growing it for a number of years. There is a blog post on my website detailing some of the progress. The timing of the work is July, beginning of July, sort of midway through winter. And as you can see, this elm still hasn't dropped all of its leaves. So we're going to first remove those and then we're going to prune the entire tree back. And then in spring, when the new buds do develop and swell, we won't be wasting any growth by cutting it off. To remove these leaves, I'm just going to pluck off with fingers. You could use defoliation shears or a trimming scissors, but it's going to take you a tremendous amount of time. So I'm just going to pick the leaves off. It does not, in my experience, damage the bud. As you can see, here is a branchlet that has been defoliated. You can still see the buds are intact. You might be wondering why it's important to remove the leaves on deciduous tree. The reason is purely that if the tree still has leaves on when it goes into spring, it's going to take a lot longer for it to actually start becoming active. In my experience, and so by removing the leaves, the tree will actually begin growing a lot sooner. And you'll find this also on broadleaf evergreen trees as well. If you defoliate those, they will also start growing a lot sooner, or sooner, maybe not a lot sooner, but they will start growing sooner. And also that you will find growth on the interior of the tree because sun is able to get into the structure of the tree, and those buds will become active in spring. If you were to leave those leaves on the trees, this is now broadleaf evergreens, if you leave those, sunlight will not be able to penetrate into the canopy, and therefore those buds will not be stimulated into growing. So the tree has been defoliated, and the next step will be to prune the branches back, reducing the twigs that are protruding from the outline of the tree back into it. Spring growth will then push from those buds and develop from there. So you can't cut back just to the old profile. You need to cut back a little bit harder than that so that you still allow for some room for the tree to develop into. Bear in mind when you are making your pruning cuts, you always want to cut back to a bud. The first bud to the cut will be facing outwards. If we are to cut back here, then this bud is going to develop into a branch which is going to grow across pads. So it would be better to cut at this point. So I finished pruning back all the little twigs, and also there were some stubs of previous branch cuts that needed to be cleaned out and the stubs reduced, and then also some sections that died back as well. So I just removed those with a concave branch cutter. But while going through the tree, I have noticed that a lot of the buds are actually swelling already. So it's quite early, but it's not uncommon for the smooth barked elms to bud very early in the season. So ideally, one would want to treat with a concentrated solution of lime sulfur over winter. It is a dormancy treatment, and that prevents the overwintering of pests that have built up a resistance to other commonly used pesticides, so things like spider mites. But the problem is that with the buds now swelling, I'm a bit concerned that the concentrated solution of lime sulfur will damage the buds as well. So what I'm rather going to do, I'm going to use a pressure sprayer, and I'm really going to wash the tree down very well. I just want to clarify on why I pressure sprayed the tree. In this particular case, because there's various reasons why one would perhaps treat with a pressure sprayer. But in this particular case, I didn't want to treat the tree with lime sulfur because the buds are actually starting to swell already. And I'm concerned that if you're treating with lime sulfur, it has to be a series of treatments with the product. You can't just spray it once. And so if the buds are already starting to swell, then there's no point in even starting with lime sulfur. And it just so I decided to use a pressure sprayer instead. This should get rid of all, or certainly most of, if not all of, any kind of eggs or bugs or something that might still be on the tree, because obviously it's going to get in all the little crevices. It's important, if you are going to use this technique, if you can call it technique, it is to spray all around the tree from the top to the jetting the water down, and also from the bottom and from the front and from the back. You really need to get to all the surfaces. It's actually quite a lot harder than you might think it is. So yeah, treating or spraying the tree with the high pressure sprayer, it's not going to damage the tree. I've done this many times. It will not damage the tree in any way. And in fact, also by cleaning any old debris off of the branches. So we're talking about loose, perhaps old sealer that is kind of flaking off already. And if there's dirt like algae or sooty mold or anything like that, that is remnants of it, it'll clean that off. And it's also then easier for the tree to push out new buds from that older wood. So it's really quite useful to do this, and makes your tree nice and clean. I know that sounds a bit odd, but it actually does look very appealing. So that is now completed. I've also taken a look at the soil, or at the root system, and the container is full of roots. So I will also be repotting this tree, and we'll probably do that within the next week or two, because if buds are starting to activate, then you can be sure that the root system is also active. And so I'll be cleaning out the root system of the growing media that's spent. And my intention is actually to possibly consider potting the tree up into a slightly larger container, because I did feel that the preceding growth or the growth in the preceding growing season was a little bit lackluster, and I think the tree needs to just a little be revitalized a little bit, and a little bit more growing medium and a little bit more buffering as a result will just help it. So I think that about covers it for today, and I hope you've got something out of this session. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post a new video, which will be the following Friday. And probably in next week's video, I will show the repotting of this tree. It should be next week, might change the plan, but it should be next Friday. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.